The MTDCNC Podcast, sponsored by Langley Alloys, unique metals for demanding applications, providing first-class performance and an international service.
Hello and welcome to another MTD podcast. Today we're at Flegg Projects down in Aylesbury and we're going to do something slightly different where we're not going to really talk about the company, we're going to talk about the staff, find out who they are, where they come from and how they've worked themselves through the business. So Jason, where did it all begin? How did you start here at Flegg Projects?
So I actually went to college when I left school to become a mechanic. In conversation, knowing Jason, kind of was just a bit fed up where I was working, ended up falling into it, thought nothing about machine moving, lorry driving, didn't even know kind of it existed really as a 17-year-old, but yeah, kind of just fell into it and here we are today, but sweeping the floors.
So where did it start? Were you sweeping the floors?
Yeah, literally.
How did you work your way through?
So I came in literally just as a trainee, as we still take on today. Started at the bottom. The guys kind of taught me how to move machinery. Progressed from there really. Got my HGV. Was driving for a little while, and then Jay called me one day to say, "Look, we want to bring you into the office," which was scary. Again, something I'd always said. You know, I'm a physical worker. I don't want to be in an office, but I think 8 years now I've been in here. So, and then again, just kind of progressed up as I came in. And that was...
So what was it like when you first came in and saw? Because they've got some unreal equipment here. I know we're sat in front of one of the very first fork trucks, the old boy, we'll call it.
Yeah.
But they've got some amazing equipment. So what was it like when you saw all that and then went, one day I'm actually going to be using this stuff?
It's, yeah, I mean, it's mind-blowing. As I say, I came in not kind of consciously aware of what went on and machine moving and the size of forklifts. I mean, everyone's seen the little 2-ton ones you get in warehouses, but coming in here and seeing the size of the equipment and the cranes that are on the back of lorries and things like that when you've never even thought about it before, it's, yeah, as I say, it kind of blew my mind a bit, but it's exciting. Everyone loves toys, don't they? So.
Oh, everybody loves a good toy. But obviously, it comes with quite a strong responsibility working here because you're not moving little things. You're not moving like cheap equipment around. You're moving thousands, if not millions of pounds worth of stuff.
Yeah.
So how do you get your head around that? How do you go, I'm driving this lorry with millions of pounds on the back and it's...
I think in a way, I don't think you think that deeply into it. That it's, you know, obviously you're conscious of what you've got on and it's not that you're blasé about it, but I think if you started going into exactly how much it's worth or the dangers involved, no one would ever want to do it really. So I think it's kind of putting it back of your mind, but still being conscious of it, I suppose. But
and then how has the company changed over the years since you've been here? Because surely when it all began, it would take 6, 7, 8 of you to move a machine. And now I've seen one guy turn up with a lorry and deliver a machine thinking, how are you going to push that in on your own? And they do it.
Yeah, I mean, the progression since just when I started of the company is insane to look back on. There was, I think, 7 or 8 of us on the road. Jay was pretty much running everything himself from the diary to everything. To now the size of the team we've got, the amount of equipment we've got and everything is just, yeah, it's crazy to see it all.
I just don't get how you do it because we've been on, so if people haven't seen, we've actually done a film where we follow you delivering a machine and what goes into it is just absolutely unreal, from planning to the equipment you need. So what's your job role now and how does that help the guys make sure everything runs right?
So I'm now logistics director. I'm responsible really for overseeing all the staff, the warehouse, the lorries, the equipment, making sure everything's kind of working correctly. All the lads are aware of what they're coming up against. They've got all their training, things like that really.
But that must be quite, you say it's so blasé, like this is just what I do.
Yeah.
But that's a lot just in that job role as well, because obviously you do other things as well, but we'll get onto that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But just there'll be managers at home thinking, well, I just have to deal with staff and that's hard enough. But you deal with staff, equipment, training, certificates. That must be quite a lot on your shoulders to make sure, because you've got to make sure that people are at the right place at the right time with the right equipment to get the job done. So there's got to be more to it than I just deal with this.
I mean, there's a great team in the whole of Fleggs anyway to back that up. It's not just me single-handedly doing everything. I just oversee it and make sure it's running well. I'm more involved when there is an issue. Obviously, when it's ticking along, it's nice and easy because everyone's just doing their jobs, aren't they? But it's more, I suppose I'm more reactive within the company when things are going wrong. It's kind of like help and trying to help find solutions, really, which I think is a great part of the job. I enjoy trying to find that solution. So,
but well, hopefully it's more. There's more time where it's ticking over than more time when there's problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you deal with health and safety.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the equipment weight, that must be quite a big role for you to make sure everybody's safe all the time.
Yeah, I think the hardest part in the role is making sure everything's within, where it should be. The lorries aren't running overweight. The staff have got the right training for what they're doing. And it's more, if someone's off sick or anything like that, trying to last minute move everything around, but make sure you've got the right person on the right job still. I think that's the difficulty with it all.
But I think that also shows your commitment and your background as well, that you know all your staff so well that you can move people around and go, actually, that job only needs one person, and you'll be fine. You can do that.
In a way, yeah. I mean, I think coming from where I have within the company, I think that, as you just said, I think that wealth of experience, I suppose, helps out massively because you know what machine is what bit of equipment does what. You're not trying to reference, the lifting capacity charts and things like that. You've got a good guide of what it will do already, so you can make quicker decisions without having to rely on everyone else to help you or look into it.
That's a really good point, because obviously you're not having to look up weight limits and stuff like that because you've been there, you've done it, you've had problems before which you can relate to make sure you don't have them problems again. Now, there's a couple of things I want to just go through, and it comes down to problem solving, because obviously these are big lorries, some of these with big loads. So how do you deal with a problem when it arises? Because obviously there's always going to be problems on some deliveries. Some deliveries will go straight forward, which is what we'd like to have every time, but that's not the case. So if a problem occurs, how do you deal with that? How do you make sure that the machine or whatever equipment it is still arrives at the customer when they want it? Because surely the deadline for you guys comes from the customer by saying we need it here on this date at this time, more than you going, we can deliver it here at this time.
You're right. And 9 times out of 10, if we get a problem, it's already too late because, of course, the truck doesn't break down until you're already on your way to site. So, I don't know. I think there's a few elements. One of them being just that we're lucky. We've had a lot of deliveries where might have had a bit of equipment fail or something, someone phoning sick or something, and the customer would know nothing about it. We've kind of got together in the background, managed to find a solution, get it to site. We might have to phone and say, we're an hour late or something. We're running behind a little bit, but other than that, they're not gonna feel the impact of it or all the stress we've gone through to get it sorted. But I think there's also elements with people doing like I have. So I've come up, I can move machinery. I've got my HGV. There's a few of us in the office that have. So we've always got that backup of worst case, we're gonna have to drop our pens and off we go.
But I think that's great as well that you've still got your certificates, you still do, you're still able to drive and move. So if there is a case where it's like, oh my God, we need someone on this job now, you can just drop everything and go, right, I'll be there. Now, do you enjoy that? Do you enjoy going back to, obviously we'll not say it too much because we don't, but is it nice every now and again when you get to go back out on the lorries and do the deliveries?
The planning side of it, when I'm in the office, I'm like, no, I'll do all I can to avoid it. I'll always put everyone out before me. And then when I actually do go out, I'm like, I love this actually. I want to do it some more. So yeah, I mean, it's like with covering drivers' hours and things like that to work around it at weekends. We try and kind of get stuck in to help out a little bit where we need to. So it's kind of, I've always put myself last on the list, but then when I end up doing it, I'm like, I actually really love doing this. It's just stress-free in comparison to what you're doing in the office. Really, it's you've got one goal to concentrate on, and it's getting that machine put in rather than everyone else and everything else going on in the company at the time.
So what's it like being here at Flegg? Because obviously we've talked a lot about what you do here, but what's it like being here in this company? Because every time we talk to anybody, it's always described more of, and I know it's cliche and people say it all the time, but people always say, oh, it's more like a family than a workplace.
Mm-hmm.
But when you come in here and everybody's laughing, joking, it just seems a great place to be.
It really is. I think I'm not alone in kind of where I started in the company, where I am now, or my length of service. There's quite a few of us here, and I think that says a huge amount for the company that, you know, it's not a one-off. There's a lot of long-serving people here. So that in itself, I think, says a lot about the company. All the guys we see, particularly in the summer, as we know, we've got the pub on the way out up the road. So I'm going home at sort of 5 o'clock and you can see them all in the beer garden waving to you, which you kind of laugh as you go past. But it's great to see because obviously everyone gets on. And as you say, it's not just go to work, do your job, go home. They do socialise. Everyone does here. You know, everyone gets on really well. And
now I've got to come back to the pub thing, because is it a laugh or is it a cry? Is it a laugh that they're all waving at you, or is it a cry because you want to go in there as well?
Both. There's been a few occasions where I'm going past and you can see them beckoning you in, and it's like, no, don't do it, don't do it.
Now, do you have any other roles? Because you're a very busy man.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything else you take on as well? Because obviously you do logistics and health and safety.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything else you also like get involved with? So like the project side of it, that sort of thing. Because obviously it's delivering some of these machines, and I don't know how much we can and can't say, but obviously you deliver big MRI machines,
Mm-hmm.
and they are just. I walked past one the last time I was here, and you see them when you go to the hospital, and you think, oh, they're quite big, but then when you see them in here, they are huge. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the problems you can find moving things like that? And then do you get involved in others? Do you get involved with anybody else to help them with your experiences you've had to make sure them deliveries go well as well?
Yeah, I think you're quite heavily relied on for that knowledge of moving anything, whether it's, you know, whatever kind of machine it is. I suppose if you broke it right down to it's just a big lump of metal, really, isn't it? No matter what it is. So we get from the medical team the kind of the transport side, if you like, the daily stuff we're doing, to the big projects. You kind of relied on for your knowledge of how to move stuff, what equipment can do what, and kind of help them come up with their solution to.
Now I'm glad you moved on to the medical team, because I want to talk a little bit about that. Now obviously medical equipment is usually highly expensive, and you're looking at very awkward places of putting these equipment in. So what happens when you do have to close roads and you've got the big wide load sign on, so you've got the guy following? Mm-hmm. How much more stress does that put into a delivery?
I think there's quite a bit of an element of more stress with it. I think the more people you're involving externally and relying on that don't always have the same value sometimes as well, it can be difficult. We'll move everything we can to make sure if we say we're there on a certain day, we will be there. When you're looking at road closures and things like that, obviously you're heavily reliant on people okaying the road to be closed on the date you're saying you want it closed for. And I think there's so many factors that then could prevent you from making that delivery on the time you promised, that it brings a new element of stress of the what if, I suppose.
Now, we've talked a lot about your job and what you get involved in. Now, you started from the bottom, you worked your way up. Flegg still does that today.
Yep.
Do you get involved in any of that, of the new guys coming in and say, look, I started where you were, I've done what you've done, and now look where I am. This could be you. With you chatting to the new guys like that, does that give them a bit of confidence, say, okay, I'm not here just to sweep a floor. This is a long-term thing?
I think so. I actually, you saying that, I do most of the hiring and firing with the guys here as well. So, but it is a point I always bring up, particularly in the interview stage with the trainees, the drivers, people like that coming in, is that kind of where I started. Because I think it is it's a great selling point for the company, I think, and the kind of company you're looking to work for, is that there's always that progression route. It's not, as you say, you're not just going there to do one job and that's all you're ever going to do. There's always going to be routes and avenues for whatever you're capable of and whatever you want to do, really.
Well, Jason, it's been great getting this insight from you and learning where you started to where you are now, and all the responsibilities you've had to take on as your time has progressed. So from me and everyone at MTD, I'd just like to say thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We actually have more episodes coming with more members of staff, and you really need to keep an eye out for them ones, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the MTDCNC Podcast, sponsored by Langley Alloys, specialists in a wide range of exotic materials for any application for all your engineering needs.